Right now, as you're watching this, your heart might be racing. Your mind might be spinning with worry about tomorrow, next week, or that thing you said 5 years ago that keeps you up at night. You've tried everything. The breathing exercises that don't work, the positive thinking that feels fake, the advice from people who just don't get it. But what if I told you that over 2,000 years ago, a practice was developed that modern neuroscience is now proving can fundamentally change how your brain processes anxiety? And what if I told you that you can start experiencing relief, not in weeks or months, but in the next few minutes as you learn these techniques? Stay with me, because what you're about to discover might be the missing piece you've been searching for. Let me start with something important. I'm not going to promise you that anxiety will disappear forever in seconds, because that's not how anxiety works, and anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you. What I'm going to show you are Buddhist meditation techniques that have helped millions of people reduce their anxiety significantly. Techniques that are now backed by scientific research and practices that you can use immediately whenever anxiety strikes. These aren't just abstract concepts. They're practical tools that work with your nervous system, your brain chemistry, and your body's natural ability to find calm even in the storm. The technique I'm going to teach you first is something that Buddhist monks have used for centuries, and it's so powerful that it's now being taught in hospitals, therapy offices, and even corporate boardrooms around the world. It's called mindful observation, but it's much more than just watching your breath. Here's what makes it different from everything else you've tried. When anxiety hits, your natural instinct is to fight it, to push it away, to distract yourself, or to spiral into more worry about why you're anxious in the first place. This creates what Buddhists call the second arrow. The first arrow is the anxiety itself, which is uncomfortable but manageable. The second arrow is your reaction to the anxiety, the fear of the fear, the anxiety about being anxious, and that's what truly causes suffering. Buddhist practice teaches you to stop shooting that second arrow. Here's how it works in practice. The next time you feel anxiety rising, instead of immediately trying to make it go away, I want you to get curious about it. This might sound counterintuitive, but stay with me. Notice where you feel the anxiety in your body. Is it tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, tension in your shoulders, shakiness in your hands? Don't judge it as good or bad. Just observe it the way a scientist would observe an interesting phenomenon. Now, and this is crucial, label what you're experiencing without identifying with it. Instead of saying, "I am anxious," which makes the anxiety part of your identity, say, "I am noticing anxiety," or "there is anxiety present right now." This tiny linguistic shift creates space between you and the anxiety. You are not the anxiety. You are the awareness that notices the anxiety. This is one of the most profound insights in Buddhist psychology. Let me explain why this works from a neuroscience perspective, because understanding the why makes the practice more powerful. When you're anxious, your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, is in overdrive. It's sending alarm signals throughout your body, triggering your fight or flight response. When you try to suppress or fight the anxiety, you're actually activating your amygdala even more, because you're signaling to your brain that there really is something to be afraid of, even if that something is the anxiety itself. But when you observe the anxiety with curiosity and without judgment, you activate your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought and emotional regulation. This is called top-down regulation, and it's one of the most effective ways to calm your nervous system. Studies using brain imaging have shown that experienced meditators have thicker prefrontal cortexes and can actually shrink their amygdalas over time through regular practice. Now let me teach you the second technique, which builds on the first. It's called RAIN, and it's an acronym that makes it easy to remember when you're in the midst of anxiety. R stands for recognize. Simply acknowledge that anxiety is present. Don't analyze it yet, just recognize it. A stands for allow. Let the anxiety be there without trying to fix it, change it, or make it go away. This is the hardest part for most people, because we're conditioned to solve problems immediately. But anxiety isn't a problem to be solved in the moment. It's an experience to be moved through. I stands for investigate. With kindness and curiosity, explore the anxiety. What thoughts are present? What sensations are in your body? What emotions are layered in there? You might find that what you're calling anxiety is actually a mixture of fear, sadness, anger, or even excitement. N stands for nurture. Offer yourself compassion. Place your hand on your heart and speak to yourself the way you would speak to a scared child or a good friend who's struggling. You might say something like, "This is really hard right now, and it's okay that I'm feeling this way, or I'm doing the best I can." The Buddhist understanding of anxiety is radically different from the Western approach, and this difference is what makes these techniques so effective. In Western culture, we're taught that negative emotions are problems to be eliminated. We want to feel happy all the time, and when we don't, we think something is wrong with us. But Buddhism teaches that suffering, discomfort, and difficult emotions are inherent parts of human existence. The Buddha's first noble truth is that life contains suffering, which isn't pessimistic, it's realistic. The second noble truth is that suffering is caused by our resistance to reality, our clinging to what we want, and our aversion to what we don't want. The third noble truth is that suffering can end, and the fourth noble truth is that there's a path to end suffering, and that path involves practices like meditation, mindfulness, and compassion. Here's where it gets really interesting. The Buddhist concept of impermanence, or anicca, is one of the most anxiety-reducing insights you can internalize. Everything changes. Everything is temporary. Your anxiety is temporary. That situation you're worried about is temporary. Even your life is temporary. Now that might sound depressing, but it's actually incredibly liberating. If everything is impermanent, that means your anxiety cannot last forever. It will change. It will shift. It will pass. When you're in the grip of anxiety, it feels like it will never end, but that's an illusion. Your brain is tricking you into believing that this feeling is permanent so that you'll pay attention to the perceived threat. But when you remember that everything is impermanent, you can ride the wave of anxiety, knowing that it will eventually crash and recede. Let me give you a practical exercise you can do right now. It's called the 5 senses technique, and it's rooted in the Buddhist practice of bringing awareness to the present moment. Anxiety lives in the future. It's worry about what might happen, what could go wrong, what you need to prepare for. But right now, in this exact moment, you are okay. Your body is functioning. You are breathing. You are alive. So let's anchor you in this moment using your 5 senses. First, look around and name 5 things you can see. Don't just glance at them, really look at them. Notice their colors, their textures, their shapes. Next, name 4 things you can touch. Feel the texture of your clothes against your skin, the ground beneath your feet, the temperature of the air. Then, name 3 things you can hear. Maybe it's the sound of traffic outside, the hum of electronics, the rhythm of your own breathing. Next, name 2 things you can smell. If you can't smell anything, name 2 things you like the smell of. Finally, name 1 thing you can taste. This exercise brings you out of your anxious mind and into your sensing body, into the present moment where anxiety cannot survive. Another profound Buddhist teaching that helps with anxiety is the concept of non-self, or anatta. This is more advanced, so bear with me. We have this sense that there's a solid, unchanging self inside us, an I that experiences everything. But Buddhist philosophy suggests that this self is actually an illusion, a convenient fiction created by our minds. You are not one static thing, you are a constantly changing process, a river that looks the same, but is made of different water every moment. Your thoughts aren't you, your emotions aren't you, your anxiety isn't you. They're all temporary phenomena arising and passing away in your awareness. When you realize this deeply, anxiety loses much of its power, because who is there to be anxious? This isn't about denying your experience. It's about not identifying so completely with every thought and feeling that passes through your awareness. Now let's talk about loving-kindness meditation, or metta practice, which is one of the most powerful Buddhist techniques for transforming anxiety. Anxiety often comes with a harsh inner critic, a voice that tells you you're not good enough, you're going to fail, people don't like you, something terrible is going to happen, and it will be your fault. Loving-kindness meditation is the antidote to this internal cruelty. Here's how you practice it. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and start by directing loving wishes toward yourself. You might say silently, "May I be safe, may I be healthy, May I be happy. May I live with ease. If that feels too difficult, and for many people with anxiety it does, you can start by thinking of someone you love unconditionally, maybe a pet, a child, or a dear friend, and direct these phrases toward them. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Feel the warmth in your heart as you send them these wishes. Then gradually expand this feeling to include yourself, then neutral people, then difficult people, and eventually all beings everywhere. Research has shown that regular loving-kindness meditation increases positive emotions, decreases anxiety and depression, improves vagal tone, which is associated with better emotional regulation, and even increases gray matter in areas of the brain involved in emotional processing. But beyond the science, there's something profound that happens when you deliberately cultivate kindness toward yourself and others. You begin to soften. The tight grip of anxiety loosens. You realize that you are not alone in your suffering, that all humans experience fear and worry and doubt, and that recognizing our shared vulnerability actually connects us rather than isolates us. Let me share a meditation technique that specifically targets the physical symptoms of anxiety. It's called body scan meditation, and it's a foundational practice in Buddhist mindfulness traditions. Lie down or sit comfortably and bring your attention to your feet. Notice any sensations there without trying to change them. Tension, relaxation, warmth, coolness, tingling, numbness, whatever is present. Then slowly move your attention up through your body, scanning through your ankles, calves, knees, thighs, hips, abdomen, chest, back, shoulders, arms, hands, neck, face, and head. When you encounter areas of tension, which often accompanies anxiety, don't try to force them to relax. Instead, breathe into them. Imagine your breath flowing into that area on the inhale and carrying away tension on the exhale. This practice does two things. First, it trains you to notice the early warning signs of anxiety in your body so you can address them before they escalate. Second, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest mode, which is the opposite of the fight or flight response. Here's something that might surprise you. In Buddhist psychology, anxiety is often related to what's called the hungry ghost realm, one of the 6 realms of existence in traditional cosmology. Now, whether you take these realms literally or metaphorically doesn't matter. What matters is the insight. The hungry ghost is depicted as a being with a tiny mouth, a narrow throat, and a huge empty belly. It's constantly hungry but can never be satisfied. This is the perfect metaphor for anxiety. Anxiety is that gnawing hunger for certainty, for control, for guarantees that everything will be okay. But no matter how much you plan, worry, or try to control the future, you can never satisfy that hunger, because the future is inherently uncertain. The Buddhist solution isn't to keep feeding the hungry ghost, it's to recognize that certainty is impossible, and to develop comfort with uncertainty. This is called negative capability, the ability to be in uncertainties, mysteries, and doubts without irritably reaching after fact and reason. Let me give you a counterintuitive technique that often provides immediate relief. It's based on the Buddhist principle of leaning into discomfort rather than running from it. When anxiety arises, try saying to it, "Welcome, come closer, show me what you've got." This isn't about being masochistic, it's about removing the fear of fear. Often our anxiety is made worse by our fear that the anxiety will be unbearable, that we won't be able to handle it, that it will never end. But when you turn toward anxiety with courage and curiosity, you often find that it's not as overwhelming as you thought. It's intense, yes, it's uncomfortable, yes, but you can handle it. You are handling it right now. Every moment of anxiety you've ever experienced, you've survived. Your track record for getting through difficult moments is 100%. Remembering this builds confidence and resilience. The concept of the middle way is central to Buddhist philosophy and incredibly relevant to managing anxiety. The middle way is the path between extremes. For anxiety, this means not indulging in anxious thoughts and catastrophizing, but also not suppressing or denying your feelings. It means not being controlled by anxiety, but also not trying to control it completely. It means putting in reasonable effort to manage your mental health without becoming obsessed with being perfectly calm all the time. The middle way is about balance, moderation, and being kind to yourself, while also taking responsibility for your well-being. Here's a breathing technique that combines ancient Buddhist wisdom with modern understanding of the nervous system. It's called coherent breathing or resonance frequency breathing. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 5, then breathe out slowly through your nose for a count of 5. That's it. 6 breaths per minute. This specific rhythm has been shown to maximize heart rate variability, which is associated with better stress resilience and emotional regulation. In Buddhist practice, mindful breathing has been used for thousands of years, not just to calm the mind, but to develop concentration and insight. The breath is always available to you. It's happening right now without you having to think about it. When anxiety pulls you into worried thoughts about the future, the breath brings you back to now. When trauma pulls you into painful memories of the past, the breath brings you back to now. The present moment, accessed through the breath, is your refuge. I want to address something important. These Buddhist techniques are powerful and effective, but they're not a replacement for professional mental health treatment if you need it. If your anxiety is severe, if it's interfering with your daily life, if you're having panic attacks, or if you're experiencing thoughts of self-harm, please reach out to a mental health professional. Buddhism teaches wisdom, which includes knowing when to seek help. These practices can be used alongside therapy, medication, or other treatments. They're tools in your toolkit, not magic bullets. Now, let's talk about how to integrate these practices into your daily life, because knowing about techniques intellectually is different from actually using them when anxiety strikes. The key is to practice when you're calm, so that the skills are available when you're not. Set aside just 5 or 10 minutes each day for formal meditation practice. Sit comfortably, set a timer, and practice one of the techniques I've taught you. Maybe on Monday you practice mindful breathing. On Tuesday you do a body scan. On Wednesday you practice loving kindness, and so on. The more you train your mind when you're not anxious, the more accessible these tools become when you are anxious. It's like building a muscle. You don't wait until you need to lift something heavy to start strength training. Also, bring in formal mindfulness into your daily activities. When you're washing dishes, really wash the dishes. Feel the warm water, smell the soap, notice the sound of dishes clinking together. When you're eating, eat mindfully, taste your food. Notice the textures, the flavors, the sensations of chewing and swallowing. When you're walking, feel your feet touching the ground with each step. This constant return to present moment awareness throughout your day gradually rewires your brain to spend less time in anxious future thinking and more time in grounded presence. The Buddhist concept of sangha, or community, is also crucial for managing anxiety. We live in an increasingly isolated society, and loneliness amplifies anxiety. Find your sangha, whether that's a meditation group, a support group, a community of friends, or even online communities of people working on similar issues. Share your struggles. Listen to others share theirs. Realize that you're not alone, that suffering is universal, and that connection heals. Buddhism has always been practiced in community because the journey toward inner peace is easier when you're not walking it alone. Remember the parable of the 2 arrows. An anxious thought arises. That's the first arrow, and it hurts. But then you think, I shouldn't be anxious. What's wrong with me? I'll never get better. Everyone else has it together. Why am I like this? And that's the second arrow, the one that causes the real damage. Buddhist practice teaches you to feel the first arrow without shooting the second one. It teaches you to have anxiety without having anxiety about having anxiety. This is what acceptance means in Buddhist psychology. Not resignation, not giving up, but acknowledging what is true right now without adding layers of judgment, resistance, and suffering on top of it. Let me leave you with one final practice, a Buddhist teaching that serves as a foundation for everything else. It's called beginner's mind, or Shoshin in Zen Buddhism. Approach each moment, including each moment of anxiety, as if you're experiencing it for the first time. Drop your preconceptions, your stories about what anxiety means, your assumptions about how it will unfold. Meet this moment fresh. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe you'll discover something new about yourself, about your anxiety, about your capacity to be with discomfort. Beginner's mind creates space for possibility and prevents you from being trapped by your past experiences or future worries. Your anxiety wants to convince you that you're broken, that you need to be fixed, that you'll never be okay. But Buddhist wisdom teaches something different. You are already whole. You are already okay, even with the anxiety. The anxiety is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It's evidence that you're human, that you're alive, that you're sensitive to your experience. The goal isn't to become someone who never feels anxiety. The goal is to become someone who can feel anxiety without being destroyed by it. Someone who can acknowledge fear while also accessing courage. Someone who can be uncomfortable while also being okay. That person is not somewhere in the future, waiting for you to complete enough practices or read enough books or have enough breakthrough moments. That person is you right now, exactly as you are. The only thing that needs to change is your relationship to your experience. And that change begins with the choice to bring awareness, acceptance, and compassion to whatever arises. These Buddhist techniques aren't about destroying anxiety. They're about transforming your relationship with it, developing skills to ride the waves of difficult emotion, and ultimately discovering that you are bigger than your anxiety, that you contain multitudes, that you are the vast sky in which anxious clouds pass, rather than the clouds themselves. This is freedom, and it's available to you right now in this moment, and in every moment that follows, one breath at a time.